let off some steam in a world under pressure. We're taking a quick peek at SteamWorld Heist. SteamWorld Heist is the third SteamWorld game by developer Image Inform Games. The series began as a tower defense game for Nintendo's 3DS handheld devices in 2010, and was expanded upon in 2013 with SteamWorld Dig. Dig was a platformer of sorts that helped bring the series to more platforms, but Image Inform wasn't done just yet. After 2 years of development, they released SteamWorld Heist in late 2015 for the 3DS, later porting the game to PlayStation in early 2016, and now to the PC. I'm honestly not sure of the relationship between each SteamWorld game. While I've yet to try SteamWorld Defense, none of the characters or events from Dig make any kind of return for Heist. The most I was able to find was a bar in Heist named after Lola, the bar owner from SteamWorld Dig. Not even Rusty, Dig's main character, seems to make any kind of comeback in Heist at all. Instead, players take on the role of a new steam-powered robot named Piper and her slowly expanding crew of robot space pirates. It seems that the world has exploded for some unknown reason, and everyone must now make their living in the vast depths of outer space. The Queen and her Royalist Dieselbots have been attempting to chain the world back together. That is, when they aren't taking advantage of the looked-down-upon Steambots. There's also some kinda redneck gang called Scrappers that are using the commotion to terrorize the galaxy. Things have definitely been better in SteamWorld, or off of SteamWorld, considering this game takes place in outer space. Either way, Piper's entire crew has been destroyed except for her and her pilot, and it's up to you to rebuild and put things right. You know, as you do. Being a 2D turn-based tactics game, Heist is all about being methodical as you slowly work your way through each level. Unlike most games in this genre that are more about horizontal movement, Heist is all about being vertical, and using that to get above, below, and behind its numerous enemies. There's also some added depth with the use of ricochet mechanics. Just because an enemy is behind cover doesn't mean they're entirely safe, and the same goes for both Piper and her crew. Barrels, shields, and strong walls all provide ample surfaces to bounce bullets off of, and getting to all of those hard-to-reach places. While only specific sniper weapons give you much of an indication on where your bullets are going to go, any projectile weapon that doesn't explode on contact will usually bounce around a little bit. Trying to determine the perfect angle to get off the shot you want while keeping your crew safe is what Heist is all about, and it can lead to some pretty tense situations. There were multiple times throughout the game where a lucky ricochet saved my hide, as well as ruined a perfectly good run. You've also got to constantly worry about friendly fire for explosive weapons and explosive barrels that are littered throughout every level. Explosive weapons do tons of damage, but they will also kill your own crew if you aren't careful. Thankfully, enemy robots also have friendly fire, and that doesn't mix super well with their AI. Heist plays out on a level-by-level basis. Every level can be replayed as much as you want, and completing them well will earn you stars that you can use to unlock new levels and even items to be bought in the game's various shops. Every level has its own objectives, and determines how many crew members you can use to complete those objectives. Depending upon the level, you can use anywhere from 1 to 4 different crew at a time, and each crew member that's alive at the end gets some experience points for their trouble. Even though your crew gets more powerful and unlocks new abilities as time goes on, Piper and her gang will always be outnumbered no matter what level you pick. Thankfully though, the enemies are kinda stupid. Don't get me wrong, they will kick your butt in all 3 of the game sectors if you aren't paying attention, but they do have a tendency to both damage and kill each other, especially if they use explosive weapons. Honestly, I'm a-okay with them being somewhat dumb, as Heist can be a rather difficult game at times. There are 5 difficulties to pick from when starting a new save game in Heist, everything from casual to elite. The devs recommend that you play on the second highest difficulty called Veteran, and I would mostly have to agree with them. Veteran's difficulty scales generally well, to the point that I was able to get full stars on every level without too much frustration. The worst part of the game's difficulty is when you enter a new sector. There are 3 different sectors in the game that pit you against 3 different factions, and each sector has its own weapons that get more powerful the further you go on. It can be annoyingly difficult when enemies swap out which tier of weapons they're using, as they usually do this at the start and middle of each sector, whether you have access to buy those weapons or not. This means that for at least the first mission, where the enemies have gotten better weapons, you'll be at a large disadvantage, unless you're specifically prepared. As I said before, you can replay any level you want whenever you want and how many times you want in order to gain more stars, experience, or sweet swag. Levels are filled with multiple swag bags, just right for the plucking, and if you beat a level after collecting one, you'll be rewarded with some money or equipment. There's a huge variety of stuff to find, from weapons to items and high-priced goods that can be sold at a high price. Every member of your crew has their own weapons by default, but you can equip them with a specific one that matches their class, as well as 3 pieces of equipment. Including Piper, there are 9 crew members that can be collected as you wander through the stars. Each one of them has their own class, but they really are their own individual characters. Not only do they have their own personalities, but even if they are the same class, they get their own unique abilities to use while in combat. Characters like Beatrix and Valentine are both sentries, and they can both gain a passive ability called Focus, which makes their attacks more powerful if they don't move for one turn. But Beatrix can equip explosive weapons and shotguns, while Valentine can only use pistols and snipers. Both also get their own special active abilities, such as Beatrix's rocket and Valentine's piercing shot. There really isn't much redundancy in the crew you can collect, and it makes for a wide variety of strategies to figure out which members work well with each other and which items they should have equipped. This, combined with a wide variety of objectives as well as secondary objectives, help keep levels interesting even though they are all similarly designed with their verticality. What also helps is random generation. Every level is broken up into multiple rooms, with each room being somewhat randomly picked each time you load up that level. Boss encounters and other special situations will always have a similar layout, but other than that, it's up to the owner of the slot machine to determine where rooms will be, what enemies will be in those rooms, where cover will be located, and where and how much swag you'll be able to collect. All of these variables, with objectives, ricochet shots, random generation, enemy and crew variety with both equipment and weapon variety, constantly keeps things interesting even though each level plays out somewhat similarly. Oh, and there's also hats. Hats are mostly cosmetic, but sometimes they'll save your life from a headshot. Enemies have hats as well and can be collected by shooting them off their heads. You've got everything from your basic top hat to a cat that is also a hat, and there are tons of them to find. I really enjoyed my time with SteamWorld Heist. The game's got a good amount of character to it with how your crew interacts with the galaxy and each other, as well as offering a lot of depth and replayability with its mechanics. Heist also has a pretty good art design for its universe, using the same sort of design that Image and Form used for SteamWorld Dig. Some of Piper's crews seem a bit oddly put together, such as Sally or Payroll, and I'm not a huge fan of the game's odd digital animation, but I can't say that any of this impacts things enough to make me care all that much about it. The game's music also does a good job of fitting the steampunk theme, which makes sense since it's by a group called Steam Powered Giraffe. I had previously heard of Steam Powered Giraffe, and while they are talented musicians, I've never been much for their lyrics. The band has a steampunk robot theme, and they run crazy with it, which is great for them, but not really my kind of thing. Regardless, they fit perfectly with what Image and Form wanted to make with SteamWorld Heist, and they even make some cameo appearances in the game itself. Heist is available on Steam right now for $19.99, and that's not a bad price for it. Image and Form has also released Heist's DLC at the same time as the main game on PC for $4.99 and a soundtrack for $9.99. I do wish that the DLC had been included in the base game of the PC version of Heist, since the DLC was released before the game came to PC, but $5 isn't a bad price for it since it does include a lot with a new character, missions, weapons, and equipment. Even if you aren't all that into turn-based tactics games, I'd still say give this one a shot. It changes things up enough that I feel that just about anyone could get some enjoyment out of it, plus its multiple difficulties let anyone progress even if you happen to be terrible at tactics games. That's all I got for now. Please let me know what you think about the game or this video in the comment section. I'm MegapieMan. I'll talk to you guys later. Almost impossible not to activate them. This can be a problem if you want to be a completionist and collect all of the tokens, since it makes it rather frustrating to do so. Something On Rusty Trails does really well, however, is its art design.